good entrance, right?
Be afraid, Doctor. Because everything is about to change. Forever.
Out of all of the stuff that's been going on with this episode, I'm surprised nobody mentioned that. Hello, it's me, Budgery, and I have been awoken from my slumber in anger, I guess, from the current state of Doctor Who, the absolute state of this show. Oh gosh, I tried to hold my tongue. I watched the majority of Series 12 feeling frustrated, but there were improvements from Series 11, but just genuinely frustrated. And I tried to hold my tongue about a lot of plot issues and contrivances that seemed to repeat from episode to episode until the finale happened, in which it got too much for me. Way too much, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so here I am analysing Ascension of the Cybermen, and so I'm going to start. So the episode starts with Ashad, the lone Cyberman, voicing over the pre-title sequence saying,
"The men were defeated. The victors of 1 billion battles broken. An empire of might and terror fallen."
He goes on to mention how the Cybermen were essentially eradicated by the humans, how all of their victories have turned to nothing, and how this is the last hope for the Cybermen, and that he, as a believer, can bring back the Cybermen. And this was actually a really good pre-title sequence. In an era where pre-title sequences aren't that common, this was utilized very well. It gave a sense of suspense, and it was chilling, and intrigue that came out of that was really good. And what they showed over the voiceover with the corpses of the dead Cybermen floating through space, and then the zoom in of the floating Cyberhead that transitioned into the title sequence, that was really well handled. So good props to Chippy for doing that. It's just a shame that everything after that was a bit, you know. So continuing on after the title sequence, we start off with the story of your boy Brendan. And I think this segment was well written. You know, you have the parents of Brendan finding him, the Irishman, and, you know, he picks up some baby. They call it Brendan. The police come, they say, well, we're going to look for the parents. The parents never come. They're able to adopt this child, and they raise Brendan as their own, and he grows up, and the boy gets ill. They use that for a really ham-fisted segue into the rest of the episode with the Doctor and the fam, which kind of leads on to my overall issue with these segments altogether. They're kind of useless and unnecessary to the plot for Ascension and for Timeless Children, which is the second part of this two-parter. The way they're broken up as well kind of ruins the pacing within the episode, where they're ramping things up and then they drop it for this storyline. They could have probably just had all of the pieces together in one segment at the beginning, but instead they kind of separate it off into the episode, and that messes with the pacing a bit, and the whole segment was unnecessary. It was really good, really well written. It was good writing, kind of reminded me of Torchwood in season 1 and 2. Chibnall scripts from Torchwood, not Day One. I'm talking more countryside type scripts where Chibnall was kind of at his best in the Whoniverse. But yeah, on rewatches, especially the rewatch that I'm doing now for this analysis, it was unnecessary. It wasn't needed, but it was good. So conflicted emotions about that part of the segment. Let's continue with the Doctor's story. So the main plot begins with the Doctor and fam, where the Doctor exposition dumps on us and tells us all about the Cybermen. So just to give you a heads up from the previous episode, because this episode kind of is a continuation from the last episode. The last episode, which was, I'm going to butcher it, The Haunting of Villa Diodati. The Lone Cyberman, the one that they were warned about by Captain Jack in a previous episode. That's a whole other kettle of fish. He is basically after a MacGuffin liquid. The Cybermen, which is basically this almost omnipotent information AI that gives you information of all of the past and future victories of the Cybermen. It's very vague. He wants this MacGuffin liquid, and your boy Doctor is all like, no, I don't want to, because Captain Jack told me.
The lone Cyberman. Don't give it what it wants.
But then she was also like, oh shit, Percy Shelley, who was in this episode, has the Cybermen up his anus, so I kind of need to retrieve it. So she's all like, okay, I'm gonna take it myself. And oh, I've got it now, so you can't have it, Lone Cyberman, you can't have what you want. And then the Lone Cyberman's just like, well, I'll just destroy the world then, chill, okay. Dude, cyber lads, I'm calling you. Yeah, bring down hell. Come on. And so the doctors were like, oh shit. I guess I'm gonna have to give it to you then. I'm gonna have to give you what it wants. I'm gonna do it to save the world. Yeah, cool. I'm the Doctor. And so now Cybermen is in the Lone Cyberman, so he has the power to change course of history and bring the Cyberman back to full force. But before he disappears, the Doctor has coordinates for the next place that essentially the Cybermen are going to go with Ashad, the Lone Cyberman. So she has the coordinates of the most important place, supposedly, for the Cybermen to go, for them to return in full force and win the cyber war. So interesting. That was an exciting premise. I wonder where in the whole of time and space will we find these new Cybermen? Where do these coordinates go? So, the Doctor and fam have found this desolate planet that looks a lot like the English countryside, just with really badly CGI'd planets in the background. They've parked the TARDIS.
Half a mile out. The exact coordinates Shelley gave us.
Reasons for this? Unknown. Completely unknown. Almost like the plot required TARDIS to be out of the picture, because with the TARDIS in the picture, you could probably have fixed this whole episode in like 5 minutes. But what's worse is it continues my ongoing debate within myself, in which I try to figure out, is the 13th Doctor an imbecile, or is she a villain, like a sociopathic, almost psychopathic at times villain that loves and revels in the pain and suffering of innocent people, particularly her companions / fam / friends, whatever Chibnall is calling them these days, you just don't know. I say this because the story begins with the Doctor having them haul big, huge bits of equipment that are supposed to be defences against the Cybermen, and they've parked the TARDIS half a mile away. So these guys have had to log this equipment for half a mile to get to the settlement for literally no reason. Why did the Doctor park it half a mile away? There is no reason for that, except for plot contrivances. I've spoken to people about this and they've said, oh yeah, the Doctor just didn't want to have the TARDIS in the war zone. And I was like, but that's stupid. The TARDIS is incredibly powerful. You could literally house all of the people in that settlement within the TARDIS, and it has a force field. It won't be destroyed by cyber technology. They're not that powerful. Like, they're powerful, but they're not powerful to the level of Time Lord supremacy. So they'd be safer. They'd be a lot safer. And even if that's the case, Why don't you just scout the area, see that the Cybermen are not here yet, drop the companions off, and then park your TARDIS? Also, half a mile, really? Do you think the Cybermen, if they wanted the TARDIS, would completely ignore it because it's half a mile away instead of actually where the settlement was? It doesn't make sense. If the Doctor had the TARDIS, then they'd be able to travel to wherever they needed to in a heartbeat. Actually makes more sense if they used the TARDIS to get the last remaining survivors away, especially if you know that there are 7 survivors here, who I will now refer to them as the Forgetful 7. Yeah, that's my first grievance. And it's like, I don't know, a second into the Doctor appearing and I'm already just like, ugh. And just to make it worse, by the way, she goes on to talk about the history of the Cybermen, how the Cyber War essentially wiped out all of humanity. There are only a few left, but it wiped out almost all of the Cybermen too, which is a good thing. And then she goes and makes a comment like,
Cybermen have hunted down and wiped out the majority of the human race. Sorry, it was never a good time to break that news to you.
And that's it. And I'm there like, on the one hand, Doctor, it's nice that we're getting some explanation of how the Cybermen are during the Cyber War. It gives them an extra level of threat that they didn't really possess in New Who, because the Cybermen have kind of been the drones of the Master for the past decade or so, ridiculously. If you've seen the next episode, you know that history likes to repeat itself. However, I love the Cybermen. They are one of my favourite villains in Doctor Who, and it's because they're always relevant, because we're always trying to surgically enhance ourselves. We're trying to better ourselves constantly. And so the idea of the Cybermen is always relevant to us, and it's especially more relevant now. So, and I wanted a full episode and story dedicated to just them. However, even with that bit of exposition, I was just like, ooh, this is a nice setup. The sad thing is that she just goes, okay, sorry to drop that on you. Yeah, your species will almost be extinct. Do you know that the humans survive this? Like, you could kind of give your team a pep talk to give them hope about the future, because you were there, as we know from, episodes like Nightmare in Silver or Tomb of the Cybermen. The Cybermen become things from a war that's very old and forgotten, and the humans have survived and prospered in that time. So you could have at least told them, but it's okay. As the timeline was originally, the humans prevail and they do awesome after that, and that's what we're trying to preserve. I mean, give them a goal at least. If I was there with the Doctor, I'd be like, well, so what's the fucking point? Is this it for the human race? Will we all die out? But of course, as it's the fam, they just sway in the background like a bunch of inflated flailing hands. They're just swaying in the background whilst the Doctor talks absolute nonsense. So anyway, we find out that there are 7 humans here, and we are posed with the question, are there 7 humans left? Because that kind of doesn't make sense. How are there going to be 7 humans left if we know that the future of the human empire kind of goes off on one after this? And before you go, oh, time could be rewritten. Well, time hasn't been rewritten yet. That's what Ashad is doing now, right? But the Doctor corrects this by saying,
I'd say that's the last remaining human settlement this side of the universe right now.
What the fuck does that mean? I'm sorry, but what does that mean? What does this side of the universe mean? How do you measure the universe? It's constantly expanding. It's infinite. How do you measure a side of the universe? Are you telling me that the side of the universe is from, I don't know, here to the end of the Milky Way? Is that one side? Or is it from here to my local chippy? How am I supposed to know what that distance is? How am I supposed to have an understanding of how the humans have dispersed over the universe? And how am I supposed to know how many humans are roughly left? If you're telling me that there are 7 on this side of the universe, it gives me no clue of the stakes, and that's just takes you out of the immersion of the story. It's just bad writing, Chibnall. How many sides are there to a universe? That is a question that I want the answer to in the comments below. How many sides are there in the universe? Because my fucking god. Anyway, we are introduced to the forgettable seven, as I mentioned earlier. The 7 people that are left on this side of the universe. And as it's a Chibnall era script, we all know that they are completely forgettable. And they can barely scrape one-dimensional when it comes to character depth. With the most ludicrous names even Chibnall could think of. I mean, Yedlami? That sounds like some weird pasta that seems to be missing from the shelves due to a certain pandemic going on right now. And what was the other one? Feekat? Is that some sort of Japanese flavour of Kit Kat? You know, those green ones, maybe? I don't know, but... Chibnall. Just give them normal names. Give them Paul or John or something. I don't know. We're still human, okay? You don't need to kind of outdo yourselves, you know. Other people in sci-fi make, you know, otherworldly names, but they still feel like you can connect with them. But come on, Feekat? What was he, that? The cousin of Hyphen? You know, that cat lady from Orphan 55? Sorry for giving you PTSD of Orphan 55, but bloody hell, man. Jeez. So, some of the forgetful 7, essentially, are all talking about repairing some ship, and some awful sci-fi jargon that Chibnall is renowned for.
How are the repairs?
Piece of cake. Grav raft's completely fixed, completely fine, we're good to go.
Really?
No.
And they kind of piece together little bits here and there of anecdotal stuff about how...
You always look at me with those puppy dog eyes and say, please tell me it's good news.
To try and convince you that they're characters and people rather than NPCs designed to drive the plot. Sorry, Chibs, you just really don't do well with this stuff, and it really is apparent I have no physical connection to any of the 7, and I continue not to into the second episode because we're giving nothing from them to make me go, some sort of character development or something. There's nothing. So the forgetful 7 say that it's going to take a whole day to fix the ship so that they can escape. Just as one of them says that, we don't have enough time. Whoop-a-doo-boo! The Cyberlads and Ashad, the lonely Cybermen, just shoot up there in 2 spacecrafts. I'll get back to this, the fact that there are 2 spacecrafts later, because that's a whole other thing. So, the Cyberlads and Ashad, the lone Cybermen, are here with their McMuffin. Liquid McMuffin that's told them to go to this exact location. And seconds later, the Doctor appears amongst the forgetful 7. So you know how I said earlier that the liquid Siberium AI thing gave out coordinates for both Ashad, the lone Cyberman, and the Doctor to appear at this one particular planet? Do you remember that? You know, it must have some kind of significance to the rebirth of the Cybermen, right? That's gotta be right, yeah? That's correct, right? It's not just some random planet that they just happen to be on that has no significance whatsoever. Those 7 humans, are they important to the resurrection of the Cybermen? I mean, maybe I might be wrong. I can't wait for this episode to point out why these specific coordinates were given out to both the Doctor and Ashad to be part of the rebirth of the Cybermen. I can't wait for Chibnall to explain it. I'm so excited, Chibs. So the Doctor is in front of the 7 and she's all like, hey guys, we're here to help. And the forgetful 7 are obviously like, who the fuck are you? You've just appeared like seconds after the Cybermen have shown up. I kind of don't trust you. Who the fuck are you? So the Doctor's all like,
Doctor, Graham, Ryan and Yaz, don't worry about where we're from. Concentrate on how we can help.
And then, no shit, these guys lower their weapons. They had like 2 guns up. And they were like, who the fuck are you? Are you Cybermen? Are you androids? Who the hell are you? And then they're just like, no, these are their names. And yeah. And they even asked, like, where did you come from? Where are you from? And she's just like, you don't need to know that. And then they lower their weapons. okay. Okay, like, you kind of deserve to die. I'm not gonna lie. You've never met them in your life, and they appear seconds after the Cybermen have arrived. I mean, those are like big red flags right there, and you're just like, it's chill. Come help us. It's like, no. Dumb humans. Really dumb. So then it's kind of reversed, and the Doctor's like, well, who the hell are you? Tell me about your life story. And then they basically explain that they've been on the run from the Cybermen for all this time, and they have a ship that's broken down. It takes a day to repair. And as they continue to talk about what they've gone through, the Doctor snaps at them and says,
I've built a couple.
Don't need your life story.
which I'm like, well, apart from that being incredibly rude, Doctor, when you ask someone about their life story, don't get pissed off that they're telling you about their life story. What the fuck? Especially considering you are like the biggest chatterbox ever. You never shut up. Ugh, why are you so unlikable? Come on, red flags there. There's no sort of compassion or consideration or empathy here. That sounds like a Cyberman to me. Kill them all. So you're probably thinking, what about the fam? What are they doing? I mean, have they just been standing there all this time just gawking at everyone? Well, you'd be right. But now the story requires them to do something very important, like crucial to the whole finale. They finally decide to take off the huge bits of equipment that they've been holding. They start to plug them in. And as they do so, one or two of the Forgetful Seven come up behind them consecutively and ask them what those machines are. And by golly, they're going to give you the explanation. One of them disperses gold dust. Nice little reference to Classic Who about the Cybermen being allergic to gold, to Chibnall. Yes, you're feeding us the bait. We get it. The next one, we find out that there's this machine that basically disrupts the inhibitors of the Cybermen, the emotional inhibitors, which will drive them kind of crazy. Cool. We all know about that. Third one, it is a force field. Cool. Nice details about all three of these machines that you've given to us and to the Forgetful Seven. I can't wait for them to be put into action. I can't wait. So then the Doctor asks Fecat what weapons they have, even though she was told literally, like, I don't know, 30 seconds ago.
Fought Cybermen before?
No, we've run from them.
So they're not going to really have much. And when they basically tell them that they don't have much, she scorns them.
So basically nothing.
We're not soldiers. I was a teacher.
You know, of course they don't have weapons. They're running for their lives. And as the cat explains, they're like childminders and teachers. They're not fighters. They're not part of this war. They just want to live. And then, oh, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's the Cyberdrones. Oh, Jesus. Chibnall, oh my gosh. I miss the cyber shades, man. Oh my gosh, I miss the next Doctor. So, the Cyberdrones. They are floaty heads flying around in the sky with blue eyes that shoot lasers at people. You know those defense weapons that the fam set up and spent like a minute and a half explaining to us what each of them were? All three of them blew up. They just blew them up straight away. So that was completely useless. Like, oh gosh, what is happening? I can understand how the gold duster thing wouldn't work because they're robot heads, I'm guessing. I can understand how the inhibitors wouldn't work either because they're robot heads, but like, the Doctor told them to activate each of the defenses, so they're activated. And one of them's a force field. So what was the point? Did the force field not work? Why didn't it work? Like, what was the point of this chip though? It feels like unnecessary padding here. I just, oh, my brain. The worst bit, right? I've forgotten to mention. When Ryan was talking about his defense MacGuffin, he was introduced to this character.
We ain't got nothing. Oi, Fusco, here. It's my little brother. He don't say much, not anymore.
And that is all we know about that character. And then Foskel, who obviously has very severe issues of PTSD, whilst all the drones are running around, runs out into open warfare and he is shot down and killed. They were like, oh no, Foskel's dead. He's mute, so I must feel sorry for him. Oh no. I'm like, I don't care. I can literally see you pulling strings trying to make it seem like I should have an emotional reaction to Foskel dying, but you introduced him 10 seconds ago and the only thing you said was that
He don't say much, not anymore.
that is it. That's not a character. That's not anything. That's a line of dialogue. This is so badly written. But anyway, I'll give them one thing. The drone scenes, the POVs of the drones as they fly around, that was some good directing. It looked pretty dope and I was like, wow, imagine if this episode had actual budget. It might have actually looked good at least. Anyway, no time to mourn Mute Man. The Doctor is pissed. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Doctor, in this case. You fucked up. She's upset and lamenting at the fact that she got her companions into this mess in the first place. Yeah, I kind of agree that you bringing your companions who have no sort of military background or any experience within any kind of war and throwing them all helplessly to the mercy of a war zone in which them as a species are prime prey isn't the best. But anyway, okay, they can't get to the TARDIS for unknown reasons, so all of the fam decide to go onto the broken down ship that takes a day to work. Okay, so you're essentially stuck here, right? Oh, no, this is a Chibnall script. I'm sure the ship's just going to miraculously work. And the Doctor is here to fend off the Cybermen. So I'm excited, right? So Ashad, the lone Cyberman, he's got 2 ships worth of Cybermen. The Cyber lads are here, right? This is going to be fun. I can't wait to see this whole army just rock up in front of the Doctor and her find some sort of clever way of getting out of it, right? Right? So there were 2. There are 2 Cybermen that were rusty and old, just strolling behind him. There's 3 of them in total. One of them is half converted and 2 of them look like they can barely function, and that's all he has. We can really see that they are running out of that budget, boy, and not a good time to do it for the finale. Why the hell did Ashad get 2 cyber ships? Unless Chibnall needed 2 of them there for some sort of plot convenience later on. But what is the reason for the second cyber ship? Also, we find out that later on in the episode that it takes 2 people, 2 Cybermen with 4 limbs to be able to fly the cyber ship. But there are only 3 Cybermen, including Ashad, that have appeared, right? So how are they able to fly 2 ships if you need at least 4 people? Why would you need 2 whole ships for only 3 people? What? Part of me was like, did one of them have the cyber drones in them? But the cyber drones can fly and they're robots, so why would they need it? And there were like 5 of them. So what's going on there? How did that happen? There's no perceivable reason why Ashad would bring 2 ships to the planet with 7 humans on it, unless there was some sort of plot convenience in which one of the characters or the good guys used the other ship to travel in and took it from the Cybermen. I wonder if that happens. With that, my dear ladies and gentlemen, I finished part 1 of this absolute tripe. It is hard to understand how this fails on so many levels, and I had some of these thoughts whilst watching the episode, and then when I watched the second one I had other thoughts that I was like, this is also stupid. And now I'm analysing it and I'm just like, this script just falls apart from head to toe. Things just happen for no reason, for no rhyme or logic, just because the script says it has to happen so that events can pass. And this is something that happens in the Chibnall script quite a lot, but I've been ignoring it until this finale, where there was no way I could ignore it because everything failed and it was just so frustrating. So here we are with the end of part 1. We shall find out in the next part. What are we going to find out? Will the Forgetful Five escape? Will the Doctor cancel Ashad on Twitter with that big old meetup? And will Yaz actually speak? I think we know the answer to that one. Goodbye guys, and I will see you later. Allons-y.